Oh, hey, this is Dr. Evan Osar with Integrative Movement Insider. Just working on my posture as I'm doing my bicep curls. Obviously, posture is very important, or I should say, we think posture is important here at Integrative Movement Insider. Welcome to this edition of Integrative Movement Insider, where we're discussing posture. And this is in relationship to a conversation I recently had with a client, and we were discussing her posture when she was doing her bicep curls, tricep exercises, and lots of her exercises in these group exercise classes where they use light weights. And they're encouraged to use slightly heavier weights. And a lot of the strategies they use during these classes is chest up, squeeze the elbows into the side, and then to do the bicep curls. And she had chronic tension in her shoulders. She was always getting a massage here. She was using the trigger point or the massage gun, what are they called? Hypervolts, things like that. She was digging into it with a lacrosse ball, chronic shoulder issues. And I was sharing with her the strategy she's using to perform most of her exercises with is she's pulling her shoulder down. So like, for example, she's doing a row exercise. So she's rowing and she's rowing herself right into that shoulder position. She's bicep curling herself right into that shoulder position. So I gave her a postural cue. So one of the cues we use, you've heard us use that before, is to think long through the back side of the head and neck. So we're thinking long through the back side of the head and neck, not lifting the chest up. Okay. So long through the back side of the head and neck, shoulders are wide. So we're cueing our clients to have wide shoulders. So wide shoulders across the front side of their shoulders. And when you look at the client from behind, they should also have that sort of wide shoulder appearance. So when they're curling, they should maintain that space between the upper arms. So from behind, keep space between the upper arms and the back as we're curling. So that way you are reinforcing the optimal alignment between the shoulder. As you can see, step closer in the screen, you can see if I'm here and I'm maintaining space in here, not out here like this, but just a little bit of space here, then I can maintain that collarbone or that clavicle position relative to my torso. So my shoulders are where they belong, and slight upward rotation and posterior tilt, and I keep that wide shoulder appearance. As soon as I lift the chest up and squeeze down and back, now you see a big slope position of my shoulders. I've compressed down those upper ribs. I've also compressed down with my lats, which brings the shoulders down, which can also be a common cause that we see in a lot of our clients with low back issues because the lats are attaching into that thoracolumbar fascia, which attaches into the lumbar spine and pelvis. So this strategy can also be a chronic cause of low back issues, which she also had as well. So when I cued her to think long through the backside of her neck, ribs down in the front, and shoulders in a better position, she's like, oh, yeah, that feels a lot better on my neck as well as my back. So it's not just that we're looking for a specific position. We're not looking for this perfect posture. Perfect posture. And we're not looking for perfection. We're not trying to fix anything. What we're trying to do, our goal is when we're cueing our clients is to give them a more optimal strategy for alignment and ultimately loading. How are you loading your spine? When I'm loading my spine, so I'm going to grab these dumbbells again. So when I'm loading my spine and my shoulder complex, my rib cage, I want to be able to maintain the ability to breathe up into this upper airway as I'm doing my carries, as I'm doing my shoulder press. So this is the shoulder press position. As I'm doing my bicep curls, if I'm doing a bent over row, I'm trying to maintain this position, that open position here, so I'm not compressing down. And if a client compresses down just for a couple repetitions, I'm not overly concerned with that either. I'm concerned when they're using this as their go-to strategy for all their exercises, which then relates to developing that neuromotor habit that then they take into everyday life. So every time they're lifting something, they're using that strategy of chest up and squeezing down and back, over compressing those upper ribs so they're not breathing into the upper ribs. They're compressing the shoulders down. The shoulder depressors are very powerful muscles. The lats, the low traps, the pectoralis minor, the subclavius, all these muscles collectively are very good at depressing the shoulders. Plus you have gravity pulling down on you. Plus you have the external loads, any loads that the person is carrying pulling down on their shoulder complex as well, onto those upper ribs, onto the rib cage, onto their low back as well. And if your client has a decent strategy of breathing, of alignment, of control, then yeah, it doesn't matter for a couple exercises or a couple of repetitions. But for our clients that have chronic compression type syndromes of the upper shoulder, upper rib cage, I should say upper shoulder and upper rib cage region, upper spine region, and or lower spine region, then this strategy can make all the difference. Get them to learn how to suspend, get the rib cage up where it belongs so that the ribs are stacked up and over top the pelvis where it belongs. So the ribs aren't compressed down behind the pelvis, or they're not hyperextended where they're still compressing that lower back. They're suspended, they're long through the spine, the rib cage is stacked, they're able to breathe into the entire thoracolpelvic cylinder, so they have the optimal pressure regulation. Then they have an optimal strategy for posture, and more importantly, for when they're moving and when they're loading their shoulder complex and their spine as well. And people will say or ask me, where's your research, Dr. Osar? I don't see any research on it. Well, there's no research on it. Nobody has studied it because it's probably not an interesting enough topic, and it's a hard topic to measure. How do you measure how much somebody's pulling down and if that strategy is actually bothering them and or impacting their ability, their range of motion, their sort of compressive loads through their spine or their rib cage? Is it changing their breathing? You don't know unless you actually work with the client and you see the client over a period of time. You've changed their alignment, you've changed your breathing, and then you start to notice a difference between when they're using a more optimal strategy, where they're suspending, where they're breathing into those upper ribs and ring areas, when their shoulders aren't compressing down, when they maintain that optimal shoulder range of motion, where their strength goes up and they have less of that chronic tightness that they currently experience. So you have the objective, but you also have the subjective changes as well. Like it just feels better on my neck and spine. So we always look for objective changes. Is there a change in range of motion? Is there a change in muscle strength? Is there a more optimal pattern for breathing and or their movement patterns? And we pair that with what they tell us subjectively. So we're always marrying objective and subjective. Yes, great. If the client feels better, they could just feel better from a different day or a different attitude or a different mindset or a different thought process. However, I want to see the objective changes as well. Does the range of motion improve? And does the muscle strength improve? Does their strategy improve? Does it become more optimal with the strategy that I'm instituting, the corrective exercise strategy that I'm instituting? And that's how I know I'm on the right track, generally speaking, on the right track. And this approach is working for this client. So I hope that makes sense. It's really about your strategy. Yes, you have to build strength. Yes, you have to increase mobility or improve mobility in some of your clients. Yes, you may need to do soft tissue work. Yes, you may have to you'll likely have to educate your client and teach them about optimal movement and that there isn't any perfect posture or perfect movement. However, is there a way we can help our clients better align, better breathe, better control, give them the most optimal progressions for the place where they're at and the goals they want to get to? And can we improve their strategy so they're using the most optimal strategy for them? We're not trying to fix them. We're not trying to correct them. We're not trying to make them perfect. We're just trying to help them develop a more optimal strategy so they're more safely and effectively moving towards their health and fitness goals while minimizing the chances of compressive loads for overloading their joints, causing chronic tightness and or perpetuating some of their chronic issues. I hope that makes sense. If you have any comments or concerns about anything I said, no concerns. If you have any debates about anything I said or research that contradicts what I say, feel free to put it in the post. I'm open-minded. I'm always looking to learn and improve my approach as well and the strategy that I use with my clients as well. Thanks for being part of our community and allowing us to be part of your community. Continue to be those leaders that your clients need, want, and will pay for, and continue to be that role model and that light for those clients who are looking for someone just like you. Make it a great day. Again, any questions, put them in the post. This is Dr. Evan Osar with Integrative Movement Insider. Make it a great day.